Hi everyone, my name is Alex Pluskowski. I'm Professor of Medieval Archaeology and undergraduate admissions tutor at the Department of Archaeology at the University of Reading. And today I'll be introducing our programs and also looking in detail at some of the modules that we teach to give you a flavour of the kind of topics and skills in archaeology as well as anthropology that you would learn here. First, I'd like to start with how archaeology in particular remains an important and vibrant discipline today. Archaeologists continue to make new and exciting discoveries, and here I've picked out some recent headlines where you can see not only spectacular sites are being found still today, like highly decorated Roman villas, such as the example there from London, but also entire buried cities, like the example there from Turkey. The Lost Monastery of Cookham, referred to at the top in Berkshire, is a news story about an excavation conducted by my colleague Dr. Gabor Thomas last year, which also involved a team of our students. And Cookham is serving as one of our training field schools from this year onwards, which I'll come back to a little later on. Archaeologists have also been re-evaluating world-famous sites such as Stonehenge with new techniques and data. And Professor Duncan Garrow, who teaches later prehistory at Reading, was one of the organisers of the once-in-a-lifetime exhibition at the British Museum on Stonehenge, which is currently on and which I urge you to see if you haven't done so already. We have 16 teaching staff at the department in Reading with a wide range of archaeological interests. And these can be subdivided into 6 areas. And as you can see, our research and teaching go hand in hand. And a lot of our research feeds directly into our teaching on various levels, not only in terms of the kind of information that we convey and the topics that you can choose, but also in terms of pieces of research that you can do, including dissertations. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. The 6 areas that we particularly focus on at Reading includes social anthropology, prehistory, medieval archaeology, biological and forensic anthropology, Roman archaeology, and more broadly scientific archaeology, which includes varying forms of environmental archaeology, such as the study of animal bones, which is one of the vocational modules that I teach. And I'll talk a little bit more about these as we go through different examples of modules that I want to show you in just a little bit. We offer a wide range of degrees at the Department of Archaeology. 2 single honours are accredited by the CIFA, and this is the professional body that represents archaeologists in the UK. So in addition to the BA in Archaeology, the BSc in Archaeological Science, we have a range of joint degrees that you can see listed there. Archaeology and Anthropology, and then varying forms engaging with the classical world, the ancient world, so ancient history and archaeology, archaeology and classical studies, and then archaeology and history, and archaeology and museum studies. And with each of these, you can include a placement or a study abroad year. So this entails extending your degree to 4 years and can consist of either a professional placement in industry for a period of around 9 months or an academic year studying abroad. Now, this will take place in your 3rd year. So you would leave at the end of your 2nd academic year, and then you would come back to Reading to finish your final year. Most of our students who have opted to take the professional placement have gone on to work in professional archaeological units. That's been the most popular pathway. And you can see a picture of one of our recent students, Victoria, excavating an Iron Age horse deposit for Thames Valley Archaeological Services in Berkshire. And we obviously have good connections with the local units. And again, I'll come back to that a little later on. However, we also encourage placements in other industries, and really the field is completely open to enable you to try out a work environment you may be interested in for your future career. Uh, I'll come back to talking about study abroad a little later, but as you can imagine, it's spending a year in a different educational environment, which you can choose depending on what kind of archaeology you'd like to develop that is not necessarily available in depth at Reading. Our degrees are all similarly structured into three parts. You would start off with general introductory core modules in your first year, and then increasingly specialize with period-based and vocational options. Your third year is dominated by your dissertation, which is a personal piece of research on a topic of your choice. And often our students work with museum or archival collections, as well as online databases such as the Portable Antiquity Scheme, or materials from our own excavations. If you take the BSc, there is obviously an emphasis on more science-based units, such as bioarchaeology. If you take a joint honours program, then there is a 50-50 split with your joint department in terms of the modules that you'll be taking. Here you can see the range of modules we currently offer at the department, color-coded by year. So red is first year, blue second year, green is third year. The optional modules vary slightly from year to year. And to give you a sense of time, 10 credits amounts to about 100 hours of work. So you would take 120 credits worth of modules every year. And as you can see just by glancing at the module titles, you've got quite a diverse range of topics that you could take, including obviously some of the core ones such as the field school, professional practice, which I'll come back to again later on, and then the dissertation in your third year. Just to give you a sense of how you might go about structuring your first year, depending on whether you take a single or a joint honours. Here you can see the pathway for the BA in archaeology, where you can see I've listed the compulsory modules that you would be expected to take, focusing on broad introductory period and vocational themes that you can see listed there, and I'll touch on a couple of these in just a second in more detail. And that would amount to essentially half of your credit weighting, 60 credits. And then you would have a range to choose from other departments, but as well as from archaeology. So depending on what you're interested in, whether you'd like to combine it, for example, with more scientific topics or with something from classics or history or the museum world, you're able to mix and match, providing, of course, there are no timetable clashes. So it's fairly flexible. And one of the popular options with a number of our students are, of course, language programs, both in terms of modern and ancient languages. If you take a joint honours program, the pathway is similar. Here you can see the example for the BA in Ancient History and Archaeology. You can see that with this particular joint honours, there are more compulsory modules reflecting really that equal split between the two departments. So here you would take 80 credits worth of core modules, 2 in each department, and then you would still have 40 credits worth to choose from across the university, which of course again includes the archaeology department as well as the institution-wide language programs and topics within history, within classics that may be relevant to what your interests are. So again, you can see relatively flexible, but a bigger emphasis on compulsory programs with a joint honours reflecting the split between the two departments. Okay, so what I'd like to do really is now take you through examples of the modules that we offer in part 1, 2, and 3, just to give you a taste of the kind of topics and themes and vocational approaches that you would be learning. So this is, if you like, one of our backbones for the part one, Archaeology Today, that you can see pictured there, methods and practice. And this module that is coordinated by my colleague Amanda Clark, pictured there, really introduces you to the archaeological discipline and the full spectrum of approaches and techniques used in professional archaeology. Now, this also includes what we call study skills, which is uh, an introductory program that equips you with all the skills necessary for academic writing, for preparing you to essentially write essays, research papers, reports, and then ultimately your dissertation. So that's embedded within this module. Here is an example of our principal period module for part one. This is Revolutions in Human Behavior, which covers the last 4 million years, really from the beginning of our ancestral origins through to the present day. So the aim of this module is to really give you a taster of all of the different types of archaeology associated with different time periods associated with our species around the world. So you'll cover evolutionary archaeology, prehistory, later prehistory, ancient societies, and then historic societies, really through to the present day. So that includes the developing field of what's called historical archaeology, sometimes known also as industrial archaeology, depending on the part of the world. And that, of course, includes things like the archaeology of the First and Second World Wars, the archaeology of globalization. Our modern history as a species can, of course, be studied from the perspective of material culture, and this is something that we also include within this broad overview. One of our most popular modules at part one, not just among our students, but among students from across the university who are interested in this topic, is forensic anthropology and the archaeology of death. Now, this provides you an introduction to the study of human remains and the ethics associated with that study. So that includes the recovery, the treatment, reburial, and or display of human remains within museum contexts. So this will give you really a taster into whether you would be interested in developing a career path within bioarchaeology or osteoarchaeology, where you can take specialized modules at part two and in part three. So unsurprisingly, this is one of the most popular modules with our students. Everybody seems to be interested in the archaeology of funerary cultures and of death. This is our part one introduction to social anthropology that we call contemporary world cultures. This is taught and coordinated by my colleague, Dr. Alana Kant. You can see pictured there, who is an anthropologist who works with modern Mexican communities. And the module really introduces you to the full spectrum of topics associated with social anthropology. Everything from power through to gender, through to witchcraft, conflict, all of the different issues that affect different types of communities around the world today. So again, that the intention of that is to give you a taster of what anthropology is, which is the study of modern human societies. It's very much aligned to archaeology, the study of past human societies. We rely on similar methods and similar approaches, and we ask similar questions. Of course, the difference being is that anthropologists can engage with communities that they work with in a way that archaeologists cannot do directly. But nonetheless, the two are very much aligned. And then midway through the first term, we organise a residential field trip, which usually takes place in Somerset, where you're able to experience and engage with sites from multiple time periods, both prehistoric and historic. And you can see some photos there from a recent trip with examples, for example, of Glastonbury Abbey being pictured. Now, this is a great opportunity to get to know each other and bond, and our students really enjoy this experience. At the end of our first year, we have the field school, which is compulsory for single honours and optional for joint honours, although a lot of our joint honours students choose to participate for a couple of weeks in the excavations. This year we have two field schools, and this is something that will probably be repeated in future years, split between Isla in the Inner Hebrides and Cookham in Berkshire, that I've already mentioned. One is a multi-period site, which also includes prehistoric contexts. Cookham is an early medieval Anglo-Saxon monastic site, which is half an hour northeast of Reading. Our students always enjoy the field school. It is an incredibly interesting, fun, and educational experience, and many choose to return in their second and third years, although there are also other excavation opportunities, particularly outside the UK, run by our staff or by our research partners that you can also participate in. I'll say a little bit more about that in a minute. Part two, you would increasingly specialize in terms of the period options and the vocational techniques associated with archaeology. And I just wanted to show you a few examples of that. So here you can see one of the more specialized period modules. For those of you interested in prehistory in particular, you'll be able to explore with prehistoric Europe, the first million years, the development of our species from ancestral origins really through to anatomically modern humans. And then we have vocational modules such as ancient objects, which is a hands-on module enabling you to examine key categories of archaeological artifacts, namely metal, bone, ceramics, and lithics. And like with a number of archaeology modules, this is hands-on and enables you to handle some of our reference collections. Forensic archaeology and crime scene analysis is, again, one of our more popular modules. This is really a branch of bioarchaeology that has broader applications in the professional world. And the techniques that are used in forensics and crime scene analysis are very much similar to the ones that archaeologists use, the difference being that you're dealing with a crime scene rather than an archaeological site. So this is one of the reasons why we teach forensic archaeology. And as you can see, you have the opportunity to engage with an actual crime scene and collect data and consider how you may analyze that kind of data. The professional practice module aims to prepare you for the challenges of researching and selecting career options. It gives you the chance to recognize and be in a position to apply for placements and also to develop your self-awareness and self-promotion in the context of career decision-making, particularly in terms of identifying career opportunities both within and outside of the archaeological discipline. It also enhances your understanding of employer expectations and how to meet them. And so for this module, we bring in professionals from various industries to talk and to meet our students, which is always very enjoyable. Many modules at part 2 and at part 3 offer field trips. As I've said a few times, archaeology is very much a hands-on discipline, and so it's important for you to experience sites, museums, and collections beyond the confines of the seminar room or lecture hall. So here you can see an example of a field trip which I take along with my colleague Gabor Thomas to Winchester every year for our Part 2 medieval archaeology students. Winchester is one of the best preserved historic towns in England that includes both early and later medieval fabric, and we spend a whole day there exploring its urban features and development, as well as the centres of authority and religious importance. If you're not opting for a year abroad as part of a 4-year program, you still have the opportunity to experience the learning environment of a foreign institution in the spring term of your second year. You have a range of options of host institutions from around the world, but we particularly recommend those with strong archaeology programs, which are of course taught in English. And our students have typically opted to go for these that you can see pictured here. So depending on your interests, you can, for example, choose Aarhus in Denmark, where you can experience Scandinavian and particularly Viking archaeology in more depth. Malta, which has a strong focus on Mediterranean archaeology. Tübingen, which has a diverse archaeological department with, of course, a strong program in Central European archaeology. And for those feeling more adventurous, the University of Florida offers courses in Mesoamerican, Caribbean, and colonial archaeologies. During your second and third year, you'll also have the opportunity to go on research excavations. And you can see here examples of my own excavations of castles in southern Spain, where I've regularly taken groups of students. These are, of course, all optional. A number of our students choose to go back to the field schools and then mix and match different fieldwork opportunities over the course of the summer. So it's possible for you to sort of hop from one excavation to the other if you have the interest and the energy to do so. Part three, you continue to specialize with more advanced period and vocational modules. So again, I just want to show you a few examples of these. Here you can see one titled The Emergence of Civilization in Mesopotamia, that really takes you to an in-depth look into the ancient Mesopotamian world, the rise of ancient cities, complex societies, and writing systems. I teach the archaeology of crusading at part three, which is a subfield of medieval archaeology focusing on the Crusader frontiers, not just the most famous one in the Levant in the Eastern Mediterranean that everybody knows about, but also the other crusading frontiers in northeastern Europe and Iberia and southern France. So this obviously is a more specialized level when it comes to medieval archaeology, with a particular focus on the societies created by the crusading movement. In terms of how you will learn, as I said, archaeology is a very hands-on discipline, so we use a range of teaching methods, including lectures, seminars, practicals, field classes, field trips, and the field school. And all of these are supported by a virtual learning environment called Blackboard, which you can see here. Your contact hours for the first 2 years remain similar, but in your third year, they're reduced to reflect the focus on your independent piece of research, so your dissertation. It's important to highlight that our archaeology programs will provide you with a large range of transferable skills. Unlike some disciplines which are based on individual study in a library or an archive, archaeology requires teamwork and a broad range of skills dealing with different aspects of excavation, recording, processing data, and then engaging with the public to convey our findings. Archaeology is for everyone. Our department is wholly inclusive and diverse. Our enabled fieldwork group is there to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to experience archaeological fieldwork, and we have enhanced support for students with varying forms of neurodiversity, including dyslexia. We aim to remove any obstacle to your experience of our programs. Archaeologists are very sociable, as you may have gathered, and this is reflected in our student cohort. We're an incredibly friendly department, and our students run an archaeology society called Ruined, which organizes everything from social events to guest lectures and trips abroad, and really forms an important part of the life of our department. And you can see here pictured the current committee, including the president's cat. Finally, where do our students go after they complete their degrees with us? Many are keen on professional archaeology and end up working in archaeology units, and we have good relations with a number of leading UK units, including Oxford, Mola, and Wessex. Others who are interested in the museum and heritage sector have followed careers in a range of national and regional museums, as well as heritage agencies. But with the transferable skills that our archaeology and anthropology training offers, we also have graduates who find employment in a diverse range of industries, from journalism to energy companies to charities to the police, and thinking particularly there of the forensics connection. So that brings me to the end of the presentation. I hope it's been useful. And if you have any questions, you can either submit them to the university's more general link that I've indicated there, or you can email me directly, and I've put my email address there at the bottom. So thanks for listening, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in Reading.